And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast here for Fast Break Live for iSports Radio, your direct feed for all its sports. You're welcome to join us. On tonight's show, we'll discuss Auburn Kansas going down this week. Who will be the new number one in college basketball? We'll discuss that. The NBA Cup, what's going to happen there? And, who comes out on top, and do we really care like that? D-Locke, what you on top in tonight?
Man, there's a lot of stuff we can tap into, man. I think one of the biggest things I definitely want to talk about is the fact that my Magic are on a roll, but we just lost Franz Wagner for some time as well. So sometimes when it rains, it pours. Things are going very well. Obviously, Dentarius out for a while. Now Wagner's out. We got to see what's going to happen moving forward. And we got to talk about Jokic with his Mr. 56 points a couple days ago in that game, which was very insane. But again, we got a good show coming up. A lot of stuff we can cover.
Yeah, a lot of stuff we're going to cover tonight. Like I said, you brought up Jokic. That's a big one to talk about. Shout out to the Rizzes on that one, winning that game. So we're diving into all that, but we're going to do these couple commercial breaks, and we're going to dive deep into the show. But like I said, this is Fast Break Live for iSports Radio. You're the read for all the sports. We'll catch you on.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, eSports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back here into the folded things. This is Fast Break right here for live for IE Sports Radio. You're the referee for always sports. I'm Davidson Crooks. That's Dentarius Locke over there. We're the hosts of Fast Break. You can find us on Twitter, /X, what you want to call it, at Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. D-Lock, you weren't here last week. I ran the show solo. I talked about, Feast Week in college basketball, the Maui tournament, the Players Era tournament, things of that nature, all that stuff going on there. And then, gave my reason why. Because a lot of talk about NBA viewership being down. I gave my reasons there.
Mm-hmm.
I did I kind of want to leave out before we go to our topics in the show. I kind of gave up 4 reasons why viewership was down and what they can do to get back up. What are some of your reasons why you think NBA viewership is down and a lot of folks are disengaging from it in your eyes?
I think one of the biggest things that we have right now is, usually, don't forget, we'll talk about, the year before or the year before that, where LeBron was gonna have the most points ever, right? We're looking at these different views of different things that made the viewers move up, have more people paying attention. I think also another thing that does play a part, the NBA probably doesn't want to hear this too much, but the NFL is very competitive right now. You have a hell of a lot of games going on that's making the season very interesting. Also, NCAA. Me and you just talked a little bit briefly before this NCAA tournament of the college football playoffs. So now these games are very important. You got these joints. Then we just had conference week this past week. So you're not only having this conference week and then boom, there's just this bowl season, but now you have a college conference week, and this conference week, how these teams play, dictate on who makes that top 12 to make the college football playoffs, as we just got revealed earlier today. So I think that knowing that, this made college football a hell of a lot more competitive. We just seen SMU, who recently just lost to Clemson in the ACC championship game, make the playoffs. Now you have people on both sides, right? You have people that believe that SMU should make it, and you have people that believe that Alabama should have made it with the record and the schedule that they played. So that is a conversation that is had. But not only that, now you have fans that just love sports in general glued to these college football games, because one game can dictate a lot. And you can tell me how you feel about this, but I think the biggest thing that possibly hurt Alabama is that game against Oklahoma. Do we have this conversation of if they beat Oklahoma? So, and that's just something that grabs a sports fan in general. So I don't think it's something too much that NBA has to really worry too much about. Also knowing that, you do have the NBA Cup you feel like you're gonna grab more viewers with that. But I honestly think possibly that could be something that kind of be moving viewers away from it, because at the end of the day, they know what's most important, and it is the NBA Finals and NBA playoffs. Now, also, I think that plays a huge part is what games are being on TNT, which games are being nationally televised, right? You want to see those competitive games in the NBA. But now you got to pick and choose wisely which game that you do put on there. As much as you have a lot of Laker fans, not everybody trying to see the Lakers play against the Portland Trailblazers. You might want to see a better matchup moving forward. Correct. So I think that again, the view is low now, but obviously you're talking about them being in the mix of another competitive season. Now the NBA, or I'm sorry, the NFL has made their move to make it a more competitive season. The college football made it a more competitive season. So when you do have that, obviously the views during that season for either different sports is going to change. So I think right now that's not something too much of a hurt in NBA. But I think that moving forward, I think we'll see a higher viewership for NBA, especially after the NFL season goes.
I think, when we talk about viewership and stuff like that with the NBA, one thing I mentioned in it, I forgot to mention, excuse me, is like you just mentioned right now about matchups and stuff like that in college football and NFL. We don't got that, rivalries in the, like those blood rivalries like we used to have in the NBA. Kind of think about it. Even go back, I think at least about 25 years ago. Let's just go back like close to the turn of the century. You had those Tim Duncan led teams, Dirk Nowitzki led teams, Spurs, Mavs, and then you see those teams match up in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
KG, those Minnesota Timberwolves, they match up with the Spurs for a good while. Lakers, Kings, and we saw what 2002 brought to the fold. In that playoff matchup and the fallout, all that and stuff like that. Celtics, Nets back in those early 2000s. If you want to take it back to the 90s, Pistons, Bulls, Magic, Knicks, Heat, Knicks, Bulls, Knicks, Pacers. So y'all kind of get the point. And if I go back to the 80s, y'all get my point. We don't have those, blood feuds within the divisions that kind of captivates, the audience, and then come playoff time, people are like drawn in. Okay, they've been going at it all year. Bam, bam, bam.
Right.
Now we're gonna see what's up. We don't got that now. We don't got that blood. I say blood, but that trough. Seeking them out. Topic feuds in the NBA right now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know who's playing. Everybody gets moved around. Guys don't take it, as serious. The guys don't value the rivalries like they used to. And it's not like that. I think you kind of come close to it. To be real, it's like the Grizzlies. If you think about it, the Grizzlies and Warriors, and that beef right there. So I think viewership is down because, the stuff on the court, the play on the court, stuff like that don't help matters at all. So for me, I don't know, what I'm not Dave Stern, Adam Silver is going to do to kind of get things moving forward. I also talked last week too. The NBA don't encroach on Thanksgiving because that's the NFL's time. But now we kind of slowly see the NFL encroach into the NBA's turf on Christmas.
Right.
With the games on Netflix, Beyonce doing a halftime show. So The NFL is moving to the NBA space, and the NBA got no answer for it.
I think the biggest thing I think to me is, when they do make that move, they're making that move so they can get more views. Hell, you talk about Christmas Day, it's usually NBA. The Chiefs are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers here on Christmas Day. So, for those NFL fans that have seen the Steelers, well, like I said, I live in Pittsburgh, and this is literally a Steelers city. The question has been so much of, well, what does Pittsburgh do with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, right? So now, earlier in the season, okay, Justin Fields is a guy, at some point, Russell Wilson come in. Russell Wilson came in, and he's playing lights out. Let's be honest. He's playing hella great right now. So now that matchup on December 25th between the Chiefs and the Steelers looks even more interesting to a lot of fans. So now you got a lot of NFL fans and Steelers fans, multiple fans that are going to tune into that Christmas Day game, which we're used to seeing 4, sometimes 5 NBA games. So now that those views are going to change. So I think that the NBA feeling like they got the NBA Cup in there to grant game more viewers is a big plus, but now everybody else is making their chess move to make sure that they get views as well. And like I said, I think the biggest thing is obviously Christmas game. Thanksgiving is usually NFL, but college football playoffs was a huge jump for college football. I think you got a lot of views with that. But now the NBA just has to know that. But at the end of the day, I think for me also is that's the end of the season for college football and the NFL. NBA is just not getting started. We see those views go up moving forward. So I don't think it's anything too bad. It's just earlier in the season you're seeing hell of great competition every week. I literally just watched the Bills and the Rams go toe for toe, and the Rams pulled that game out. Good game, but again, I think the views for NBA slightly going to change. Also, I think they need to make it more broaden it out, right? Put some games on more channels. It doesn't have to be just ESPN or TNT. Kind of put some other ones on there. I've actually started watching some of them on HBO Max, where it's added on to I think it's TBS or TNT, or I'm able to see a few games. But once you broaden out and put it on different channels, I think the NBA viewers will go up quickly.
Yeah, and going to the chat real quick. Shout out to our brother Drewski. How you doing tonight, sir? He brought it to the points. That's why the NBA is trying the cup thing, trying to grab attention early, grab early attention. Yeah, they trying, but like you mentioned about college football in the playoffs and stuff like that. Man, I think once you get to the meat of the NFL season, meat of college football, it's a tough grab right now. And then you had a lot of attention on the playoff brackets and stuff like that going on. It's a tough grab right now. And he said late winter NBA viewership will be where it's supposed to be. We'll see because the Super Bowl is in February. What's the football championship? When's that? Like middle of January?
Let me double check. About college football, right?
Yeah.
Let me double check with you real quick. It is every time I go here, it goes. The schedule is January 20th.
So we talking about passing the day the president gets sworn in, and then so you talk about middle of January. So you talk middle of January, and then add 3 more weeks. You talking about like February right there. So, God, that's a long time for the NBA to kind of get some views back on their eyes. Also depends, who makes the college football championship, as well. And we could see a final between like Boise State and SMU or something like that.
Yeah, they gonna lose views. That happen, they gonna definitely lose views. They do that.
Oh,
which is possible, but they're going to, you know what I'm saying? But again, I think I think that first round is December 20th. So you're probably going to see December 20th, 21st. You're going to see a lot of people start to watch those games. But now the NBA just has to maneuver, obviously having some very good games. But we all know that the NBA usually gets started later in the season, so probably January. That's when we start seeing the NBA start to pick up, and those games are important. So, like I said, the viewers isn't something I'm not too worried about. The team that needs to be worried is the Philadelphia 76ers. They better get started, because if they don't, January is going to come around and they're not going to be in the playoffs. This is that simple.
Before we dive about the Sixers, Marcus, and this has been questioned for a good while. I don't know if you can see it on the screen there, but he says, has AAU leagues made the league too friendly? Because as you know, a lot of these guys come through AAU schools, prep schools, so forth, and whatever. And they all know each other. They know each other since like early age and stuff like that. It's not like, Michael Jordan coming through the ranks.
Right.
And then he got rivalry with Clyde Drexler and the Bad Boy Pistons. Like, he didn't know those guys, playing in AU circuit in the Carolinas, nothing like that. Or he ran into Isaiah Thomas in an AU tournament in St. Louis or something like that. Didn't happen like that. But Marcus bringing a good point that a lot of these guys know each other and know each other since an early age. Do you think that's a factor in today? In things like we brought up, that it ain't no.
Yeah, like you said, they're friends. A lot of these guys know each other, so they literally are playing the game and dapping each other up right after and just talking about, hey, we knew it was gonna be here, or you're not gonna have a better game, such and such, which is fine and dandy. That's cool. But I think sometimes rivalry is important. I mean, just last week, was it we talked about, or the week before? No, actually, I think it was last week. And all these rivalry games with college football was going on. And you literally had like 4 or 5 teams trying to plant the flag, and these teams were not having it. Yes. So at the same time, as much as you don't want to see these guys brawling, but you love to see the rivalry of it. The Florida and Florida State, which I've watched since I can remember. My dad was a huge Florida State fan, and I was a Florida fan. As much as that's crazy, I graduated from Florida State, but that's a different story, different day. That game alone, if you see Florida State win, they're taking a gator head and they're moving around, ripping it, whatever, cool. If you see Florida win, they're planting the flag, doing different things. So now when you see that, you want to see that kind of rivalry, and that draws that crowd to continue watching. And not only that, I think that persuades where some of these kids decide to go to school. You may have a kid from Gainesville go to Florida State, and that makes the rivalry even a hell of a lot more bigger. Same thing in the Iron Bowl, right? Auburn and Alabama, we all remember Cam Newton making that huge comeback at halftime, and that's something that both fans will remember forever. So you don't have a lot of those things in the NBA. Now, we talked about the match in the Palace with the Pacers and the Pistons, and that's something that many remember, but it had a hell of a lot of views, right? So anytime we see the Pacers and the Pistons match up, that's something that a lot of people who've seen that game before be like, damn, I remember X, Y, and Z. So the Pacers and the Knicks, that was a rivalry for a long time. I remember when they had the playoff series last year, leading into that series, they wanted to talk about 30 for 30 ESPN was playing the 30 for 30 with Reggie Miller, with the Pacers and the Knicks, because they wanted a lot of people to remember this rivalry. So again, to your point, when you don't have a rivalry that in the NBA where a lot of people could continuously watch, you're not going to have that many fans kind of glued towards the TV. We want to see LeBron be LeBron. We want to see if the Lakers can make a championship. We want to see if the Spurs can get back to who they can be. Those stories are there, but could it be more? We want to see Boston Celtics be competitive, but you need some of these other teams to show that competitive and show that rivalry. If you show that, I think you grab more people. I think another reason why we don't see, and maybe it changes a lot of fans, is because the Knicks have been trash, man, for years. That's one of the best, Madison Square Garden is one of the best places to play for a lot of players. And we've always seen the Knicks be competitive a while, years and years back. But when they haven't been, this is kind of what you get. So, again, I think the rivalry thing is a huge deal. But also knowing that these athletes have known each other, like you said, since they were 12, 13. And it's not a true rivalry. It's just kind of a friendly rivalry. And that's the thing that me being like I said, a Florida State alumni, I don't like Clemson. Never have, never will. It won't happen. Virginia Tech, despise them. Don't like that school. And that's a rivalry. So when you have those kind of things on a professional side, professional sports, I think you grab a lot of, and we see it in fans too, right? I mean, the Chargers and the Chiefs are playing tonight. I'm pretty sure there's some fans, Charger fans, that don't like the Chiefs for nothing. So you need to have those type of rivalries. I think once the NBA kind of gets some of those back, I think you gain some more viewers. But again, I think the viewer situation now is going to change in like 3 or 4 months.
And then you brought up the Knicks and the Pacers. You see that they try to do it off the court too. I don't know, you don't watch wrestling, but over the summer they had Tyrese Halliburton and Jalen Brunson facing off with each other in the ring and stuff like that. Trying to carry that off the court, and lucky for them, Jalen Brunson almost hurt his hand trying to grab a chair, but you see the league trying to coordinate, trying to build some stuff off the court with these guys to kind of keep things moving forward. And we could see these guys that match up in the playoffs again. The Knicks playing pretty well. Karl Anthony Towns playing pretty well with the squad. It seemed like early on this trade, man, New York got the better of that deal. Because Timberwolves fans are calling Julius Randle a former, I ain't gonna say we ain't gonna try and kick off, but they call Julius Randle's basically a traitor in a sense, in that kind of sense of word. So, we'll see how things progress, down for the league and stuff like that. Going to the chat real quick. Marcus said his dad was a Cowboys fan. He's a Niners fan. And then our brother Drewski, he said, to me, the only thing that's saving the NBA is the Western Conference. What you think about that? Because we've been saying that that's been like for the turn of the century, though.
Yeah, that's been the case for years. But I think, they are saving the NBA. I think they're definitely saving it. They're definitely saving it. But that's been the case. I think also, as much as true as that is, Miami hasn't been the Miami team that we've seen in the past. We talked about the Milwaukee Bucks. They trash. Philly, they trash. So,
man,
yeah, even if
that's
the Western, the Western Conference is the Western Conference. That's not going to change. But I think, now you look at the East. How many teams are we talking about being competitive? It is literally a shocker, the fact that for a lot of people that the Orlando Magic are being who they are without their key players. So for me, I think the Western Conference is holding it down, but I think also what happens in a month or two, what happens when this NBA Cup is done. Like I said, I'm not really too much. Me personally, I feel like the NBA Cup isn't bad, but it just gives me a street ball type vibes. it gives me like it's the NBA Street. Like it gives me like it is a totally different tournament, but it loses focus on what's most important, and that's the NBA Finals. So, me, the Western Conference, like he said, it is holding it down, but I think that the East could be a hell of a lot better. But you have your key players. Kawhi hasn't played all year long. All year. We've seen Embiid every 7 days. So, when you have these key players that hell of a lot of fans would love to see. Let's be honest. I think it does make an impact. So again, how's that impacted moving forward? I think that now you're going to have to see LeBron continue to be LeBron. We know what LeBron is going to be. We know what the Lakers, are capable of. We know what AD is. But another player, Zion Williamson, he has not done too much in the NBA. He's been hurt a lot. So the expectation of him being that guy has dropped. He hasn't done anything. John Morant, he came in as his high flyer, right? We've seen so much from him. We have these expectations. And now we're not even seeing him play a full season so far. So the NBA is holding on to a Steph Curry, a LeBron James, Victor. But when a lot of these other players who could make an impact are not around, it's probably going to play a huge part of who watches these games. Early, especially early, too.
Let's take a quick break real quick. I do, Drewski brought the Western Conference. I want to dive in. You brought the Sixers a little bit. I want to dive deeper in the Eastern Conference so far. Your Orlando Magic played pretty well. Has been playing pretty well early in the season, but now Franz Wagner is out for an extended period of time. I want to talk about that coming outside of things, and can they maintain their place in the East despite losing their second best player? It can be a buck about it. So we're going to discuss that, but on the other side of things. But this is Fast Break Live for IE Sports Radio. We'll catch you on the other side. Be right back.
What's up, everybody? This is Taryn Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you. Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back on to the folded things. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight on Fast Break for Live for IE Sports Radio. You're the read for all your sports. D-Lock, let's dive into the Eastern Conference because I think like we kind of hanged on the Western Conference a lot so far this year, but we really deep dive on the Eastern Conference so far right now, so far this season. Big slate tonight in the NBA. Have y'all not noticed? Your Orlando Magic right now playing at home, up 4 against the Phoenix Suns without a Kevin Durant. They're up 105, 101 with 4 minutes left in the quarter. Devin Booker with 21 points so far. Tyus Jones with 21. Off the bench, Grayson Allen, 13 points. And then for your Magic, leading away so far, Jalen Suggs with 20 points. The big man, how you pronounce that? Bitadz. Bizatzi, if I pronounce that right. Goga. If I got that right, I butchered that. I apologize.
Goga.
So far, he has a double-double, 17, 14 rebounds. Off the bench, Cole Anthony has 14 points. Wagner, the older brother, has 10 points. D-Lock, your team is up by 6 points right now with 3:42 left in the fourth quarter against the Phoenix Suns with no KD with no KD. First of all, do you think they survived this game? And secondly, how did it progress forward with Franz Wagner being out for the next 4 to 6 weeks in your eyes?
Well, first, I think that this game is going to be tight. I think obviously it is. Looking at about 3.5. Even though Kevin Durant is out, they still got Bradley Beal and Devin Booker. So they still got two, top caliber players that could change something for this team. Looks like Bradley Beal is got 16 points. Tyus Jones is playing pretty well. It's already been known that point guards can eat against the Magic. So if you play any kind of fantasy league, get a point guard against the Orlando Magic. But again, I think that we can, slowly close this game out. Another reason why I said it is because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope has been a very good addition on the defensive side. He's been playing extremely well. He gets the three when he wants a lot of the times, but he has been playing very good defensively. I think he's also been making an impact on Anthony Black. On the defensive side, Anthony Black has came in, in rotations and has played extremely well. So I think that this team is going to be fine. This game is now a 1-point game. But to answer the second question, I think that Franz Wagner and Banchero out. Now your bench has to play extremely well. I think, number one, Jalen Suggs is going to have to play out of his mind, which he has been doing. The fact that they continue rotating Goga and Wendell Carter tells you that they're leaning a lot on their bigs to be fresh, which is what you want. But no Franz Wagner for a little bit and Banchero out. You're going to need Cole Anthony to come in and step up. Now, he has played well at some point, but I think now you're going to need him to be a big piece. Another person I think is going to have to play a huge part we've talked about multiple times is Jonathan Isaac. I've said multiple times that I think Jonathan Isaac is a possible trade candidate, and I still do. But I think that now, when you have so many pieces out, your bench is going to have to play better. I mean, that's just what it is. You can't expect Jalen Suggs to score, 50 points a game. He's going to have them games where he's not going to be very consistent. So Goga, I think you do rely on your bigs a lot more. KCP, like I said, is going to bring a defensive mindset. Your guards are going to play well with Cole Anthony. Another person that, like I said, and the reason why I said that bigs is going to play a huge part is because now not only they have Wendell Carter and Goga, they bring in Mo Wagner as well. Mm-hmm. So have those guys in rotation, it's showing me that you have consistent guys to be fresh. But clearly, I think Jalen Suggs is the one that leads the charge for me. Um, if KCP continue bringing that defensive mindset, I think this team will be okay. But looking at the schedule moving forward, I mean, right now they're looking pretty good. I believe they're 16-9. 16-9. I think they're gonna be fine. It's just now you're gonna have to move. Let me see. Let me try to double check this. Get the schedule moved up or pulled up. You're gonna have to lean a lot more on Jalen Suggs to be that guy. Right now, you got Milwaukee coming up Tuesday. OKC coming up Thursday. Back-to-back TNT games. Miami, Boston, Miami, and New York, and then Brooklyn. So you got you some decent games, but I think the chemistry in this team is going pretty well. I think they'll be fine. But now, if Jalen Suggs so happens to have an injury or something, now we're looking at, a problem. But I think with this, how this team is built, I think they'll be okay.
I'm looking around the Eastern Conference. The Bucks, they win today, 118, 113 against the Nets. Now, mind you, this Nets team don't have Cam Thomas at the moment, so that plays a lot of factors into things. But Dennis Schroeder's playing his butt off here this season. And shout out to Chris Middleton. He's back into the fold of things. Good to see him back playing basketball. That's the good part right there. But back to this game, man. I'm looking at this. You mentioned like Suggs. He got to play well. But for me, I got to look at guys like Anthony Black and Jet Howard. You invested first round picks in these guys, and De Silva as well. Yeah, you invested first round pick in these guys, and now you kind of got, since your two, combo forwards, you can put it like that, are out for a senior period of time. Now you see some investment in those first round picks in the past couple of years into these guys to show what their worth is.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like I said, they're number 3 in the East right now. And the team got championship aspirations. If you can sell high on these guys, if they play well, it get like a big piece to kind of really push you forward. Because Boston and Cleveland, the way that things are looking right now, yesterday Evan Mobley had like 40 plus game and 10 plus rebounds. They're going to be hard outs in the playoffs. And Magic faced that Cleveland team last year in the playoffs in 7 games. So they know that about Cleveland. And it seems like they got a coaching upgrade, in Kenny Atkinson. So for me, for the Magic, I see Jay Howard. He has 6 points tonight. Anthony Black, 8 points for him. 0 for 4 for 3-point land. Not the worst thing in the world, but you'd like to see that better. Is Jonathan Isaac hurt? Because he didn't enter the game tonight.
They give him, sometimes they give him games or they give him a break and come back and play him a game or two later. But they saving him like he all-star or something. I just let that be, man. I just say.
So Isaac. So I guess Isaac didn't play tonight. I didn't know Corey Joseph was still in the league.
Mm-hmm. Recently got picked up.
If Corey Joseph is still on the bench somewhere, then Alfred Payton should be getting picked up somewhere by somebody here soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at the standings, D-Locke. I think if they can stay between 3 and 4, I think they'd be good. The only problem is I think the Knicks are kind of like somewhat finding their stride a little bit.
Yep.
So I think there's a good possibility that the Knicks could take that 3rd spot. Not a guarantee, but it's a good possibility they could take that 3rd spot. Another team I'm kind of worried about if imagine trying to hold that spot right now is the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah,
They came out bad, and we talked about it in the start of the season. Like, damn, what's going on with this team? Giannis upset. You know, Middleton's still out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they brought Darvin back as assistant coach. The bench ain't really good like that. You know, and if things keep going bad, you know, Giannis might ask for a trade, all that good stuff. But I think things have weathered down. And now, you know, this Bucks team, you know, like I said, they won today. I think they kind of find themselves a little bit, you know, compared to Philly, who kind of started off in the same boat with them. But I think they kind of find themselves. They back in the sixth spot. Middleton's back, so that kind of helps bolster that bench a little bit. So I think, you know, if you're Orlando, I kind of look at the schedule real quick. Like you just mentioned, they got the Thunder Thursday. That's going to be a tough matchup. And like you mentioned about the guards and stuff like that, you got SGA on the other side of the court. And then, you know, you got division rival, the Miami Heat, the Celtics, the Heat again, the Knicks, and then the Nets to finish out the calendar year. So winnable games. You know, the Thunder don't have Chet Holmgren back, so you don't have to worry about that low post presence, and they still trying to play small in OKC.
Right.
You know, I can see some winnable games. And then you got the Celtics at home. A good home stretch if you really look at it, D-Locke, all the way through. So if they can keep it minimal, 2 games and stuff like that, make sure they beat the Knicks and beat the Heat. Beat the Heat twice. You got to beat the Heat twice.
Mm-hmm.
Win at division games. And then with the Nets, I'm not saying it's an easy win, but beat them. You come out looking good.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think, you know, if you can get those wins, to your point, that OKC game without Chet, that's a game that they should be able to throw the Wendell Carter, Goga, you know, in there, and they should be able to do what they want a little bit because they don't have those bigs. So now I think SGA is probably going to likely go off because of who he is. We said before, guards eat against Orlando Magic, so there's probably somebody you got to watch out for him in case on Wallace. But again, I think that, you know, if you could sneak out, you know, a game against the OKC and 2 games against the Heat, I think you're fine. Now, like you said earlier, Milwaukee is a team to watch out for, clearly because of who they have. You put Dame and Giannis on the court together, doesn't matter what their record is. I think they're a team to watch out for. So for me, I agree with you there. But the thing I like about this team is they're showing resiliency without their key players. You lose a Banchero, they are still playing very well. So then you lose a Franz Wagner. I still feel like this team is not going to drop off because of what they've been showing so far. My biggest question before this season was, well, hey, we've seen Banchero go out and everything was on Franz Wagner. He wasn't showing up last year. But now we're seeing a different Franz Wagner, even in tough matchups. So I think that now if we do possibly lose, you know, Wagner for a while and Banchero, I think with the crew that they have, I think they can continue to move forward. And I think leadership is playing a huge role with that. And I think that's where KCP is stepping in. For me, like I said, Jonathan Isaac is up and down. We know how that is. That's a huge question mark. But the rest of this team, I think they can manage. They can put it together. It's going to start with Jalen Suggs and KCP leading the way.
I said that on our Twitter account on X/Twitter, or you want to dub it. You know, I said it here. I think the way Franz Wagner was playing D-Lock, I thought he should at least got consideration for Eastern Conference Player of the Month. I honestly believe that. But, you know, they gave to Jason Tatum, you know, But I was like, damn, Palo went out, and that dude really carried that Magic team, you know, to stay not say above water, but kind of like, you know, creep them up and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like I thought he should have won an award. I understand why Tatum won it because of his strong play to jump out and show that Steve Kerr everybody and I ain't no sucker, sit on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
But Wanda going out, I'm curious who's gonna step up to the plate. That's the main. And like I said, Suggs, I think it should be expected, but you need somebody else there with him because sometimes Suggs can have a bad night, and then who's there to pick up the slack? That's my only question.
I agree. I mean, I think, like I said, if you do put so much on Suggs, who is going to come through there? Cole Anthony. We haven't seen a 25-plus point game from KCP probably in years. So, where do you get those other pieces? But like I said, I think that it relies a lot on these bigs. Mo Wagner, Goga, Wendell Carter. I think you're going to get a lot of, 17 points and 12 and possibly 8 from these guys, and they're going to be the ones that's going to have to drive the charge with Jalen Suggs leading the way.
And kind of, staying in the division yesterday, man, that I was shocked by this. Shocked by the results and shocked, what happened. But shout out to the Washington Wizards. If you're a Wizards fan, hey, shout out to you.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Denver Nuggets last night. 122 to 113. Beating by 9 points. D-Locke. Jokic had a career night. 56 points. 16 rebounds. 8 assists. Now y'all read that and see a Jokic stat line like that, and like damn, they must beat the shit out. Excuse my language, but yeah, beat the crap out of the Wizards. No, it didn't happen like that.
Nope.
It did not happen like that. They won by 9 points. I'm like, damn. I saw the notification. I was like, damn, they blown up like Jokic had a career night, stuff like that. And then you look like, damn, they got beat by the Wizards, who's on a losing streak of 15 plus. D-Locke, I know they getting their ass kicked today by the Grizzlies, who did play John Morant. But even them losing today to the Grizzlies, can the Wizards build any momentum off of that Nuggets win to kind of like find some inspiration somewhere?
They should. I mean, I think, like I said, and I'm pulling up their schedule because I want to see what teams they're gonna face. They could use that as momentum. I mean, Denver Nuggets' best player had 56 points, and they found a way to win this game, regardless. Now they're gonna have to continue to play this way, but looking at the schedule, you got Memphis now, Cleveland, who we've talked about. You have Boston, Charlotte, and Milwaukee and OKC. They're gonna have some tough matchups early with Cleveland and Boston, but you stood toe for toe with the Denver Nuggets, who recently won a championship. Obviously, Jordan Poole had 39 points. How often do we see 39 points is the question from Jordan Poole. But I think they can use his momentum to start to put some type of wins together, because the only team that they beat besides Denver is the Hawks. Think about that. They haven't beat anybody else. They got 3 wins, and they've only beaten 2 teams. So for me, they can try to move somewhere moving forward. I don't see them beating Cleveland and Boston, however. Well, they definitely can put, I think, like I said, Charlotte a couple times. I think New Orleans is a possibility. Just got a notification that the Magic beat the Suns. Great win. Maybe Chicago. Maybe. And then Philly in January. So they can start stacking some wins, but I think they're going to start out. That probably was a celebration for them. That was their highlight of their season so far, beating Denver Nuggets. They just got to use that momentum and continue pushing forward.
Last year when we did our season preview series, one thing we knew the Wizards won't be good, but I think one thing I was kind of like, I don't say looking forward to, but I was thinking like for Jordan Poole to at least average like 25 points, 24, 25 points, somewhere in that range. Like, get your stats on a bad team type of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And we really hadn't seen too much from him there, to be honest with you. But, for him to have 39 points last night against the Nuggets. Now, granted, no Jamal Murray in that game. They started Westbrook there. But for the Wizards, it's like it seemed like the years of drafting in the middle is kind of really bit them because they just got like a bunch of dudes there now. And nobody really, over the past few years, like a Corey Kispert, Gill, Davis for Wisconsin. So I know those guys really have stuck out. Yes, I know they gave Kispert an extension, but still, it's like nobody really has stuck out like that. And kind of, I kind of looking at like, damn, where's the inspiration? Where's the growth in this team?
Mm-hmm.
The second overall pick didn't play in this game. Alex Sarr. Now they could be tanking for a top 3 pick.
The same.
I said on last week's show, if you ain't tanking for Cooper Flag or the 2 Ron Harper's kid and Bailey up at Rutgers, what we doing here? So if they just trying to keep their odds low and stuff like that for one of those 3 guys I just mentioned, cool. But as we're talking about the Eastern Conference right now, man, it's like we're talking about the Eastern Conference. It's just like a whole bunch of bad teams. Like at some point, like one of y'all got to rise to the top. The Toronto Raptors, Charlotte Hornets, the Sixers, the Pistons playing okay, but then the Bulls are middle. Pacers 10-15, Brooklyn 10-14. The Hawks, even though they got a big win against the Lakers, where I watched that game, big games for Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Even though LeBron, I'm still pissed off about LeBron. I dropped him to the lane. But anyways, in the last 5 seconds of that game, that pissed me off. But anyways,
mm-hmm.
I was thinking like, damn, dog, like y'all can't string enough wins to beat the Bulls, Pistons, and Raptors at good points. Catch Philly and Milwaukee on an off night. So I just like, it's a great win for them. Great win for them. And I wish they kind of used that momentum to beat the Grizzlies, but that didn't happen. And of course, they didn't have John Morant. But I don't know where this team go from here. Just saw another losing streak and kind of keep the odds low. But I wanted to make a coach change. If they can get rid of old boy, like they did last year, I sure they can get rid of Adam Keefe too. I'll let you have the last word.
I mean, I think that even, like I said, the fact that they only got 3 wins is insane. but they got to figure out the coaching situation, which
Brian Keefe, excuse me.
Say it again.
I was thinking about Adam Keefe, former Jazz player, but it's Brian Keefe, the head coach. Excuse me. But go ahead.
To me, I mean, you have to figure out what works. And, we talk about some of these teams that come back and are competitive because they're not competitive historically. But the Wizards have not been good. The most recent thing I remember about the Wizards is Russ going over there and Michael Jordan being there when he was in his high 30s. So, I mean, what are we talking about? So they have to get those things situated. Kyle Kuzma didn't play either, I'm sure. So that big move of getting Kyle Kuzma, who they were going to build around, like what's going on with this team? Jordan Poole after getting punched by Draymond on a live video. What is going on with that? So for me, they continue to rebuild, and teams that rebuild, they continue to rebuild, and they continue to rebuild, and they continue to rebuild. I've seen Orlando Magic do it multiple times. They get a player, then they rebuild. It doesn't work out. They let them go, then rebuild. So the Wizards have to figure out how they need to approach this, because clearly what they've been doing in the past has not been working.
And we'll put a bow on that. Take our last break real quick. Dive into Kansas, Auburn losing, and then who may be coming up on top in the rankings come this week. And then either other news that breaks along the way. But this is Fast Break Live for iSports Radio. You're the Rick feed for all in sports, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No. Not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide for your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And we're back in the fold of things, kind of close out the show here tonight. D-Locke, this past week in college basketball, we had some big-time matchups, come off feast week. And, last week I said Auburn should have been considered number one team in the country. Now, the voters, they kept Kansas up top.
Mm-hmm.
They did beat Duke, but I was like, I talked last week, like, damn, man, they went through the, I don't say gauntlet down Maui, but you got to give them the props going through Maui like that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to. Beat North Carolina, beat Iowa State. They win the championship against Memphis. Now, granted, UConn took a bad slide. I talked about that as well. Dan Hurley, maybe his coaching, his antics got his team hurt by the rest here a little bit. But going back to the matchups and stuff like that, big time matchups. Tuesday, Tennessee, ACC the SEC Men's Challenge. Tennessee beating down Syracuse 96-70. Yeah, Michigan. Oh, take it back. Michigan beating Wisconsin, but I ain't talking about that. Got Oklahoma beating Georgia Tech 76-61.
Mm-hmm.
Texas A&M 57-44 over Wake Forest. Ole Miss beating Louisville 86-63. Kentucky taking an L 70-66, and Kentucky is ranked number 4 in the country. And if they won against Clemson, you're talking about a Kentucky team being probably favored to be at least in that ranked number 1.
Yeah, right.
Then you get to Wednesday's matchups. Kansas went up to Omaha to play Creighton. They lose 76-63 in that big-time matchup. And then today, they lost to we talk about rivals and stuff like that and blood rivals. They lost to their blood rival, was the Missouri Tigers today, 76-67. And for folks that don't know, I used to live out there in Kansas City. When they regularly play in the Big 12 and stuff like that, the head busting. You hear stories, D-Locke, about opposing fan bases like going back and forth between Columbia and Lawrence, just doing shit to each other, all that stuff, the shit talking.
Mm-hmm.
In high school and stuff like that. During that the upcoming for that game, stuff like that. I mean, Kansas sucks. Mizzou sucks. Y'all ain't nothing. Y'all suck. Kareem Rush, he's sorry. Ward Williams, the old man. You get the point. But for them to lose like this to Creighton, like they did, and then turn around and lose to Mizzou, D-Locke, Kansas after this week be ranked number 1 after those 2 losses?
Definitely not. I think Auburn should be number 1 without question. You talked about some of these wins we've seen, some of these games, a lot of these top 10, top 15 teams are taking losses, man. I mean, that's one thing I definitely noticed. Marquette also lost Wednesday to the same day Creighton beat Kansas. Marquette lost to Iowa State. Pitt, obviously thinking that they were going to be that team. And they're not bad, but losing to Mississippi State was a big shocker in my eyes.
Yeah.
Also that same day, Duke beats Auburn. So you have teams taking losses, which college football, college basketball, and college football are a lot different. I think in my mind, you can have that team that's not ranked that can change a lot, that has more talent that is not talked about. But I think that there's multiple teams that could be number one. I just think that Kansas having those two back-to-back losses plays a huge part on if they should be number one. In my mind right now, Auburn should definitely be considered having that number one option or number one team. Another team don't sleep on this is Kentucky. I mean, although they did take that loss, they did come back and fight hard and play good against Gonzaga, and got a huge, huge win that was needed. So for me, I think, Kansas taking those two losses is definitely going to hurt them to be number one. But you have other teams. Another one that was big shocker to me, even though I should do more research and knew more about, was Penn State beating Purdue.
Yeah, that's a big time win.
Yeah, in my mind, I just thought that Purdue was going to have that win. I thought Penn State was going to be challenging. I thought Purdue was going to, duke that one out. My Florida Gators are not looking bad, obviously being ranked 13th. But again, you have these. That's a good thing about college basketball. You do have these top 25 matches a lot more often than we see in any other sport in college. Alabama did get a huge victory against North Carolina. I thought that was a huge one in Chapel Hill. Looking at that game, I didn't think that game was going to be a blowout, but obviously the history of North Carolina, you think it is going to be pretty tight, and knowing what they do. The fact that Alabama got there and got that win, that's a huge win as well. So I believe they deserve to be top 7, top 5 soon. But again, for me, I possibly would move Kansas down. Right now, unbiased, being the fact that I did go to Tennessee for 2 years, I would put Tennessee number 1 right now. Right now, how they're playing,
Really?
I think that's interesting. Yes, I think Auburn had the chance. I think that loss that they took to Duke, maybe they could have been number 1, but that loss played a part. Now we're talking about a 6-point game, but I think Tennessee is in that same talk with them. So it can go either one. I don't think that you would be bothered if Auburn was number 1 or Tennessee, Bruce Pearl teams. But I think that the loss to Duke could keep Auburn at that number 2 spot, possibly the number 3 spot for now. Obviously that changes over time, but I think Tennessee is showing that they're one of the better teams in the nation right now, man. And Kansas losing those back-to-back games, I think that number one spot has to be moved to somebody else. And now, side note to that, we're also seeing, we talk so much about the SEC football, right? We talk about how tough it is. We're seeing it in football and basketball as well, right? We're starting to see how deep this conference is, not only in football and in basketball. And me personally going through a different sport and track and field, this conference is no joke. It literally isn't, from every sport that you could think of. And we're literally seeing it. I mean, Florida's probably one of the bottom feeders on this conference, and they're ranked number 13. So you have a hell of a lot of good teams: Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Florida. LSU is going to wake up at some point. So for me, I think you put I think number 1 should be a SEC team, whether it's Auburn or Tennessee.
I'll go back to Wednesday's matchups, especially in the SEC ACC Challenge. Alabama getting a big time win over North Carolina was huge for them. And North Carolina, I don't know how the rest of the season gonna go for North Carolina. I mean, granted, they won against Georgia Tech later on in the week, but Hubert Davis, excuse me, he's got to get off the strongest starts with his basketball squads. And if he can figure that out and stuff like that, I think that'll go a long way for North Carolina to being back to a threat to win a national championship. Because if he don't get that figured out, the slow starts and stuff like that. And I'm talking about a team like this past Saturday, D-Lock, while I coached them. Like last Tuesday, we had our first game, lost by double digits. Came back this past Saturday. Told them, hey, we can't come out slow and stuff like that. Come out and be aggressive. Stay, maintain this lead and stuff like that. And we won our game. You know, 1 by 5. Weather the storm from a comeback, and 1 by 5. North Carolina, Herbert Davis got to give them that same speech each game. We can't come out slow. We can't come out slow. We can't come out slow. Because go back to the MAC tournament. Should have lost to Dayton, if we're being real. Should have lost to Dayton. Shout out to Anthony Grant. But, you know, then you trying to go out slow again against Auburn, and that ain't going to happen. And they lost that game. Then you come out slow against Alabama, and you can't. Alabama and Auburn kind of play similar styles, and you can't do that. And you got 94 put on you at Chapel Hill. So Carolina fans, they one of the more impatient fan bases out there, regardless of sport. If we're being real. Football, basketball, baseball, and go to the pros. They want impatient fan bases, and Ruby Davis don't shake things back up. They may try to push him out the door and all that stuff. But your Florida Gators, they win pretty big. You know, old boy facing that allegation, stuff like that. He just keep on winning and kind of keeping things at bay with that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Memphis, shout out to Memphis. You know, when Penny and them get games rolling, people are quiet about Penny.
Oh,
If they lose a couple games, people say, "Ooh, well, Penny, you know, he didn't have that experience. He came for AAU and all that stuff." But now Penny got this team, Memphis team, rolling so far this year. They just quiet. Jeff Goodman and them quiet. So put some respect in Penny's name and whatnot. And then, you know, I watched that Auburn and Duke game. At first, I thought Auburn, like, way Auburn's coming out shooting stuff like that against Duke. I thought, damn, they're going to damn near run at the gym. But credit to them, to Duke, they weathered the storm, came back and won that game. But, you know, just watching that game, you know, Cooper Fad had a very good game. 0 for 4 with 3-point land, but, you know, you kind of see the toughness in him, how he plays and stuff like that. Evans off the bench had 18 points. Shot the ball very well up the bench for Duke. You know, for Auburn, you know, decided a strong start in the first about 7 minutes in the first half or so with cold outside shooting. And if they're going cold like that, then it's going to be like long games for them and stuff like that. So I think that's one thing Bruce Pearl got to figure out with this squad, especially like playing stronger teams and get the conference play like you mentioned. You know, in the SEC. Because if you have cold nights like that, you can potentially be like top of the standings and then be in the middle of the standings, and then come tournament play, conference tournament play, you getting that long, drawn out way to start off in the conference tournament, and that's not a good look. Could get some momentum off of that, you know, building a little streak, or could not. You know, they got Ohio State this upcoming Saturday, so we'll see how that looks for them. They got Purdue on the 21st. that'll be a good matchup. And then Monmouth. Monmouth's 1-9, but they got a nice kid from Omaha from Monmouth who's been dropping high scoring points. So, kind of be on the watch for that. So if you're Auburn, trying to figure out how to get out this cold shooting slump and stuff like that. But if I'm going to the rankings, stuff like that, D-Lock, and who should be ranked number 1 after this week, I think it's going to be Tennessee. I think Auburn losing to Duke don't help things. Kansas, I think they'll drop. I think it's just kind of figure out whereabouts is going to go in the musical chairs. Because, like you mentioned, Kentucky came back and beat Gonzaga and stuff like that, but they lost earlier in the week as well to Clemson, an unranked Clemson team. So it's just like, how you going to figure these musical chairs? Wisconsin, another team that you may have to consider putting in the top 2 potentially.
Yep.
No, I'll take it back. Well, maybe, but they lost to Marquette. So I don't know where you're gonna put these teams at, man. I'm looking. Alabama probably sneak back in, maybe in the top 5. It's really hard to say where everybody's gonna be ranked at. Come when the new rankings come out, it's tough to say. But Tennessee will be guaranteed number 1. Kansas, if I had to guess where they dropped D-Lock, maybe 8. Just because some of the other teams had lost throughout the week. But the only thing is, Florida and Oregon are still undefeated. So you got to take that into consideration as well. I think UNC will drop out the polls. But if I'm looking at top 3, Tennessee, maybe Iowa State, Florida, Oregon, and maybe throw in Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable list. I think a couple losses hurt a few teams that were ranked ahead of them. Like I said, I think Auburn taking that loss, that kind of hurt where you would put them. I think if Auburn doesn't lose to Duke, we'll probably talk about Auburn being number 1. But
yes.
Taking that loss, now you have to consider. But I think the Big Orange should definitely respectfully be number 1 right at this moment. How long do they stay there? That's the question. But I think they do get that spot. I mean, we see, obviously it's so early in the season, man. Like, we see number 1 teams have those expectations, but later on in the season it changes. So for me, now I think number 1 is Tennessee, and trickle down after that. Florida looks good. I think Florida is looking at the fact that they haven't played anybody very super competitive yet, being at number 13. Also with those allegations moving forward, maybe that changes. But Tennessee definitely is number 1 at the moment for me.
So we'll see how the rankings shake out come Monday afternoon-ish and whatnot. There'll be a lot of moves shaking in the top 25. We know that for sure on that front of things. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. Going back to the NBA side of things real quick, D-Lock. The Lakers, I've been on the skid real quick, D-Lock. They play the Blazers tonight. Team I got on my chest. Do the Lakers kind of get a bounce back win against the Blazers, or do their woes continue to go down?
You see the Lakers?
Yeah, do the Lakers win tonight against the Blazers, kind of get things back on track, or do they take an L tonight and lose?
No, they'll definitely beat. I think they'll beat the Trailblazers. I mean, my expectation is. I think LeBron and Anthony too much. About the connection starting to click. Anthony Davidson would dominate DeAndre Ayton. Because I still remember when Jokic had 200 rebounds against him in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think the Lakers definitely get back on track next time.
I hope the Lakers win. I mean, y'all. Some of y'all looking at this saying, you know, you got to play this hoodie on. Where I live at, we use NBA teams for these kids and stuff like that. So I like to mix it up. So that's why I got the Portland hoodie this year. But anyways, I hope the Lakers bounce back. They need a bounce back win. If not, you can't talk about JJ. I think you got to hold the feet to Rob Pelinka. But we'll talk about that along the course of the season. D-Lock, how do people find you on social media?
You guys find me at Black-813 on Twitter/X. Let them know they can find you in the show's page, man.
You can find the show's page at Fastbreaker ISR. That's Fastbreaker ISR. Follow me on Twitter/X at Spawn4288. Spawn4288. Do check out IE Sports Radio. All your latest shows, news, and feeds. Right down, scroll, take it right there as well. But we'll be back next week, ladies and gentlemen, talking more basketball. You know, what's going to happen around the men's, women's, Philly, the Lakers. We'll dive into all that and all that good stuff as well. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, we'll talk to y'all next week, and we're out of here.